So what are the folks saying on the text line and the phone lines the last couple weeks? It is early, but just big picture Cardinals. What are we thinking? Are we thinking
doom and gloom is right?
You think it's doom and gloom?
Well, that's what people are saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily. I think
They always.
Well, you played 5 series. If you told me ahead of time before the season, this is how this is going to go. You're going to go into the Dodgers series and lose. Now, a 4-game series, you're kind of shooting for a split. It just seems fair. Only getting 1 out of 3, it's not ideal. But you go into the Dodgers series and lose. You go into the Phillies series and lose. You beat Miami, and then you split between San Diego and Arizona. I'd say that sounds about right. It sounds about on script.
You're 500.
Yeah, so they're currently 8-9. This fits the script. I will say, I do consider this a must-win series with Oakland.
We're already throwing that.
Hot take.
Throwing that out. You don't want to be the Blues or lose to the Sharks.
They better, though.
Good morning, everybody.
Could be it. That could be.
It's the frickin' A's.
I'm dubbing this a must-win series, and I never, ever, ever, including in this case, will never require a sweep out of anybody. So unless it's a 2-game series. So 3-game series, you do not have to sweep Oakland because that's just not how baseball works. Oakland's going to win. Oakland won 6 out of 8 heading into this. Baseball teams win games even if they suck.
It's true.
So you got to win at least 2 out of 3. It'd be nice to get a sweep for St. Louis fans. But I think that this season so far has gone basically
about right
according to schedule.
So I agree with you. But is that a schedule where you already thought they were going to be kind of mediocre?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where I'm looking at. I remember when we looked at the schedule and you knew the first 16 were going to be pretty damn tough before Oakland. I remember Brennan and I on the podcast said, what do you think the record is after 16 games? I think I said 6-10. I believe he said 7-9. What were they? They were
7-9.
So they're 7-9.
Yeah.
So to me, they're kind of what I thought. But that's also me saying that I thought they were going to win 83 games, which means you might make the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe the Central is a little better than we thought. I still think some of these teams are going to come back to earth a little bit, all due respect. Cole. But it's like, okay, you thought they were going to be around 500 mediocre. You still do. So to me, if I'm a fan, I don't think you should be doom and gloom like it's going to be last year. I don't think it's going to be last year. But it could be a really boring, mediocre middle season, which if we get back to the Blues, is kind of the worst place you can be sometimes. Like if you just miss the playoffs in any sport, that's the worst place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Cardinals fans are listening to us right now talk about how, this is going about what we expected, but they're saying, well, we don't want expectations this low.
I agree.
And it's a little bit different for us three because I wouldn't say that any of us three are big time dyed-in-the-wool Cardinals fans. And so if 3 Cardinals fans were on the microphones right now instead of us, they'd probably be complaining a hell of a lot more. And so I do think there is absolutely an argument to that even though this is going basically according to our expectations in the preseason so far, they're saying, well, I don't want to be just written off against the Dodgers. I don't want to be just written off against the Phillies. I don't want to be splitting with the Diamondbacks and the Padres. I don't want to be just left the scraps of the A's and the Marlins. I want to be one of the kingpins of the National League. I understand them saying that because the Cardinals, historically, in my lifetime, I was born in 99. I really started following sports in like 03, 04. So for my life.
When you were 4?
Yeah, sure. Around that time, 4, 5, 6, essentially. But for my life, man, they've been one of the teams that was the class of the National League. And the expectations, and I really do think that we're kind of at a crossroads because of just the whole Goldonado situation and those guys and their age.
He looked pretty quick the other night running them bases.
I know, but he's getting it. But if you don't win now with him young, then he ain't getting any younger. So I think we are kind of in flux with where the organization is. So this is a really, really interesting period of Cardinals baseball. I don't think it will be last year bad, but at the same time, is there a gigantic difference for Cardinals fans between being a 71-win team and being an 81-win team? Because it both results in your baseball ends September 30th.
Yeah.
Well, I would disagree with that.
Or whenever it is.
Because last year the baseball ended on frickin' July 31st or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
All right, fair enough.
In terms of really caring and paying attention, once the trade deadline hit and they got rid of 5-6 dudes, there were still games. I mean, we argued about this. They still played baseball games. But no one, relatively speaking, cared, and no one watched. So I would say the difference. Well, it's true.
It's so funny.
No, it's true.
No, I agree.
No, what I'm saying is the difference, and this is not a big win, by the way. But the difference would be the Cardinals would hopefully still be in it till the final week, and that's what the Cardinals used to always do, even in their bad years. In the end of the Matheny years, first Schilt year, that first Schilt year. They were going to make the playoffs till the final week of the season. So the Cardinals usually, even when they're out of the playoffs, they lose the playoff berth on like the last day or the last weekend of the season. So I do think it's important to have meaningful Cardinal baseball all season long. But, man, the team does feel mediocre. But I also think a lot of those series, they were really close. Like, if you got to find a way to win some of these games. And when you have 3-game series, if you win one, you lose one, you got the 50-50 game, you got to win those. You got to win those 50-50 games more often than not. I just wonder with the Cardinals. So I was listening a little bit to Bernie and Will Leach on their Seeing Red podcast, which is on 590thefan.com. And Will was talking about how for years you always offered the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt because the Cardinals were always so smart in their decision-making that if they made a move, you kind of said, well, they know what they're doing. I feel like they've lost that, right? Yeah. Over the last 5 to 7, 8 years.
They've lost trust.
They've lost trust. And it's not just, look, you don't lose trust in 1 year or one decision, but you lose it after 10. And if you go back, again, this is not, you could say 5 years, but I'm talking about moves, free agent moves, trades. If you really dial it back to the Mike Leakes and the Fowlers and the Cecils and then all the trades, we are looking at now, it's more like 5 to 7 to 8 years where you're starting to wonder about decision-making. And even the Ollie thing. Like, I get it. I don't think you had to give him an extension. But kind of a lot of the things the Cardinals do, I go, whoa, I don't know if I'd have done that. And I feel like the first 10 years I lived here, I never said that. And that's another thing when fans sometimes, you have the fans that are too negative, you have the fans that are realistic. When some people are like, oh, everybody's crushing the Cardinals too much. I always go, do you remember 2011 to 2015 when all people did was heap praise, rightfully so, on the Cardinals? Locally, nationally, the Cardinals were the best run organization in baseball. John Mozeliak was the greatest.
King.
He was. Yep. And we all said that. So everybody needs to remember that. You're being too hard. No, we're being fair. For 8, 9, 10 years, everybody threw flowers on Mo and the Cardinals because they should have, because they were great. But the last 5 to 7 years, there's just a lot of head-scratching moves that they never did.
Just like that tweet you had
about Zach Gallen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly that was a layup joke.
That was funny.
Joke.
But it's true, but that's part of it. It is. Look, I understand that game you didn't score. And didn't score. I know, it was a joke, guys. It was a joke. But that's part of it. When you're watching other guys shove against you, and then, look, I know it's early, but the Hicks and the O'Neills, and you just wonder why.
Dude, he ran into somebody in outfield the other day.
But why does everybody leave here now
Told you to get hurt.
and improve? It used to be the opposite. Again, this is where Dave Duncan used to take every average pitcher and turn him into a really good pitcher. It used to be the opposite. The Cardinals used to have the competitive or developing or coaching advantage, right?
Yeah,
now
you had
everybody.
some big leaders on that team too, man, with Yachty and them too.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about like the Woody Williams of the world and like Jason Marquis,
Jeff
and
Soup.
Chris Carpenter was not good with the
Matt Morris.
Right, Chris Carpenter was not good with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now everybody that leaves here, isn't it fair to say they're all better when they leave for the most part, or most of them?
Seems
a lot
like
of them
it.
are. Yeah, it does seem like
that
it.
never happened, by the way. This is when anybody's, you're too hard. No, this never happened. This never, ever happened. And when I made that joke, somebody on Twitter said something like, at the time we had Flaherty and this and that. I'm like, well, what'd you win off that? And I go, no, the organization's job is to be able to evaluate their own talent better than anybody. And that's why, again, dial it back. Everybody heaped praise on Mozeliak in 2009 when they got Matt Holliday, and they flipped a first-round pick at the time who had a ton of value, Brett Wallace. Brett Wallace never really became anything in Major League Baseball, but they flipped him as the cornerstone for a Matt Holliday deal. That's what the Cardinals used to do. They used to get rid of the guy when his value was high, when they knew maybe he wouldn't turn out. Now that's what other teams.
Gomber.
But that's what other teams do to the Cardinals now.
Yeah.
Right? Like with the Rays, with Liberatore, all due respect.
Yeah.
Right?
And I do think there is something to Jim's argument. Oh, what are we going to do? Pretend like we all wanted Jordan Hicks and we all wanted Jack Flaherty and everyone complaining about all these players when they were here and how, well, if we were in that position. I do think there is something to that. There's also something to what we're talking about right now where, yes, none of us were really interested in long-term deals with any of those players.
Hold on.
But they are turning the corner,
but
for a half a month sample size.
Now we could go case by case. Hicks is a different story because the Cardinals turned a guy who was a successful minor league starter for 2 seasons, parts of 2 seasons, and they turned him into a reliever immediately. They gave him a little shot as a starter a couple years back as an opener, but that's a different story. It's about the man never really having a true opportunity to develop as a starter with the Cardinals. Now, I don't know that he's going to continue with the Giants and be good. I have no idea. But that's a different argument because you could make the same case with Helsley. You could make the same case going back with Trevor Rosenthal. Like, Jordan Hicks was a good, look up his numbers. I looked him up the other day. In 2 years in the minors, he was a good starter. So you never really gave him a true opportunity to be a big league starter. That's where Hicks is different to me.
So he's dominating up in...
No, it's early. I mean, what was he? He's 3-0. Last I looked, and had a low ERA, not a lot of strikeouts.
He's got a ERA of 1.
Yeah.
It's not bad. That's not bad. That is a big topic that people are talking about with the Cardinals, man. And you see O'Neill do his thing, although he did run into somebody in the outfield. I guess he's hurt. Did he get banged up on that goal?
I just saw a screenshot of it. I just saw a screenshot of 2 players lying on the ground.
Running into him,
down.
dude.
Also,
brick wall.
God.
Did Jordan Hicks... skip AAA and AA?
Yes.
I was not aware of that.
Dude, that's why he's so young as a free agent. He was up here, wasn't he 19? Maybe
Damn.
20?
21.
Damn. The Cardinals do not have a good leader on or off the field. Of all people, Wynn may be that guy. Keep him in the lineup every damn day. Como Court.
I don't like doing that kind of talk. How are we supposed to know who the leaders are and are not? Like, we're not in the clubhouse. We're not listening to their discussions.
It's true. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
Could be a guy that you wouldn't even think.
Like, we have, I mean, we have baseball reference and baseball cards and all these stats laid out in front of us. How are we supposed to measure who's a good leader and who's not?
Well, you can measure it by the fact that all offseason long, management basically said the leadership was so bad last year that we have to just hire and sign a bunch of 37-year-old leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they signed Carp. Brandon Crawford's a little bit different, but they were like, hey, Arenado and Goldie, they can't be the guys to always be talking. Plus, that's not in their DNA. They're not that type of guy.
Yeah.
I think you can draw a lot from that.
I think there's something to that.
Well, they said that, though.
I know, but there's also parts that they wouldn't admit.
Okay, so the fact that they did admit it means it's worse.
Yeah. That is true.
You don't think... Okay, I'll play ball. I do think there is some leadership aspect there for sure. Like I said, can't quantify it, but I'm sure there's something there. But also, like, if they could get better players, don't you think they would have?
100%. Yes. And by the way, if they win, everybody's, he's a leader. It's all about winning. I think everybody understands that. Yeah. But first of all, John Mozeliak usually shoots pretty straight. Now, if you're an executive, there are some things you can't talk about. I think we all understand that. There's some things in the clubhouse you can't let out for whatever reason. But, I mean, they all said a million times there was a leadership void last year. And then they hired and signed a bunch of guys, a bunch of 35-year-olds. I mean, how many? 5?
Yeah.
Every pitcher was 35-plus. They said that was part of the thing with Lance Lynn. They needed an edge. They said Matt Carpenter was essentially a player coach for leadership.
That's why I want him to come on. That's why I think Carp would be great for the show.
And he seems to have a good personality, so I think they play well on the radio.
He seems kind of cool. How are the kids doing?
My kids?
No. Yes, they might be your kids.
The youngsters?
They're all big.
Interesting. Which ones?
Jordan Walker might be your
Jordan Walker's terrible right now.
Yeah, Jordan Walker.
What's he at?
That one's
What's going on with him?
a little alarming.
His OPS plus is 54.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh, boy.
So
boy.
100 is the baseline. And if you're 50,
For average, yeah.
if you're 54, you're really bad. And truthfully, you'd want him to be above 100. But
What do you see from him, Cole? Is he swinging out of the shoes? Does he look uncomfortable at the plate? What's going on, you think?
Andy Van Slyke would be a much better person to ask
I
that
know, but
question.
he ain't here.
You know more than
He
him.
ain't here.
Yeah,
you told me off air that you know more than Andy Van Slyke and Frank Cusimano. What are you talking about?
I forgot I told you that. Shh. No.
Off air, I was talking to Cole, and he said,
I can break down a swing better than a former big leaguer.
anytime Cole says, I was talking to Cam off air, I'm like, oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's innocuous. I like to mix it up.
Yeah, I like that.
But Jordan Walker not getting it done at the plate has had some bright spots in the outfield, though, which
good catches.
is inspiring. Now, you like to pair the two together and say, hey, take your good offense from last year and your good defense from this year and do it at the same time
There it
in one
is.
season. That's kind of how that's supposed to
There it
work
is.
in theory.
Yeah.
And again, we're 2 weeks in. Baseball's a streaky sport. Jordan Walker's going to have a point this season where he goes on a tear, and so it's all how it balances out at the end of the year. So we shall see. But Victor Scott at the plate has been an albatross. Any chance I can use that word, I like to throw it in
Big
there.
word.
That's a good word.
He's horrible.
Like, looks horrible, too. Just he's not making good contact.
His batting
Overmatched.
average.
I'm just asking.
His batting average is under 100.
Oh,
Like bad.
so what's...
Quit being mean.
Sorry. Oh my.
Quit
goodness.
telling the truth, damn it.
By the way, Jordan Walker, though, to me, is he going to go on a tear? Will he go on a tear in the minors? Honestly, it's really bad.
Down.
And here's the difference. Victor Scott, the second, wasn't really supposed to be on the team. So whatever you're getting right now is fine. But he was on the team because of injuries, because of Carlson and Edman. Jordan Walker, I mean, it's true.
If they send down Jordan Walker, can they get another year of service? Can
I'd have to look that up.
they do that twice?
But I mean, Jordan Walker was the guy that you thought he would have the sophomore next step.
I thought he was going to be an all-star.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, I don't think that's a crazy thought, but you thought, okay, he had a nice rookie year. Nice. Now, defensively not, but offensively nice. You thought, okay, he's going to take the next step.
Yeah.
Maybe bat fifth for you or whatever. And he's now being discussed to get sent down, which I think is a fair discussion.
Damn, dude.
He's striking out a third of the time, basically.
Yeah, he was supposed to take a big jump this year.
And he had a bad spring.
His OPS plus last year was 114, which is really
For
good.
a rookie.
For a rookie is really good. I know we're
He's 54
throwing
now.
out numbers and it's hard to keep track of them all, but yeah, he's horrible this year. Victor Scott's horrible. Mason Wynn is doing really well, actually. So
That's
he's
a good sign.
kind of on the opposite end of that, as is Ivan Herrera.
He's great.
So that's exciting. We'll figure out what's going to happen.
What about Willie?
He's doing really well, too.
Contreras is doing really well. So you got to have
Had a double last night.
both of them in the lineup at some point, at least at this point in time, I think. So you gotta mix and match a little bit. I don't think we were banking on Ivan Herrera being one of the 9 best hitters, but as of now he is. And once he kind of falls off, then he can go back to his backup catch role. That's fine, but he's got to be a guy you have in your lineup right now. Now the dilemma is Victor Scott is a very, very talented outfielder defensively, and he is so bad at the plate, it's not even funny. So how much offense can you sacrifice for defense? The answer is probably not much if Jordan Walker is as bad as he is, because now you have 2 outfielders who are giving you nothing at the plate. If Jordan Walker were better and he were playing the way that he played, in totality of last season, you might say, you know what? Victor Scott, you're batting 9th, and go out there and play an awesome center field. And if you're an automatic out,
And we'll figure it out.
Maybe we can put up with that for one guy in the order.
Yeah.
But you got multiple guys in the order right now, and you're below 500. You have a tough stretch coming up, which is going to be followed by an easier stretch when you got the Mets and somebody else on the White Sox, and that'll be a stretch where you're really looking to pick up some wins. But as of right now, as guys start to get healthier and you hopefully build back the outfield a little bit, build back better, as we're going to call it.
Build back better.
Yes.
Hashtag.
Hashtag,
Build back better.
Lars is now getting back into the fold a little bit. So the defense is going to solidify itself, but there's going to come a point where all the outfielders, because you basically had like outfield 1 and outfield 2, and outfield 1 all got hurt, and outfield 2 is on the field. And so when those guys start to return from injury, who stays, who goes? Victor Scott was thought maybe at some point within the past couple of weeks, his defense is so good, he might be able to stay. Because he has to be in a starting lineup because he's so young. Him sitting on a bench is not good for his development.
No.
So he's got to be playing somewhere.
Damn, Jordan Walker too, man.
You can't really.
That sucks.
With your offense as poor as it's been, shockingly, your pitching's actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
League-wide numbers. So
What about bullpen?
the bullpen.
I like the bullpen.
Good question. I like Kittredge a lot.
What about Palante?
Not so
He
much.
got lit up the other day.
You mean Payante?
Payante.
He's gotten lit up a few times.
Yeah. Interesting.
So not quite on him. Gallegos' numbers are terrible, but JoJo's been good.
JoJo.
Kittredge has been good. Liberatore's been fine. We'll take that.
Okay, you want MLB reliever. Okay, Cardinals are 10th in reliever ERA right now, 3.39. You'll take that.
I'll take that.
And I mean, dude, if you have a top 10-ish bullpen, that'll
good.
play. But the problem is, I think the Cardinals needed to have almost a top 10 offense to really be something this year.
Where are they at offensively?
And it's not good.
Where are they at, Charlie?
Well, let me tell you exactly.
Don't be negative.
What stats
Don't.
do you want? Do you want OPS? Is that a fair?
What's the most important?
I think OPS is the
Okay.
is the big catch-all. I mean,
Okay.
runs is the most important, but
By the way,
everybody's
the
hopefully
Cardinals,
different amounts.
the Cardinals are not stealing bases at all. Like they're like last place.
Cardinals.
Victor Scott's got to get on base.
I know that's the problem. Is that one of his big attributes is his base running.
Can't
all
steal
his
first.
speed.
Can't
And if
steal
you
first.
Can't steal
Can't
first.
steal first.
And you can't steal first.
Well, you can if you just get a hold of it a little bit, a little dribbler to burn
Little
them
slap
out.
it, little slappy,
burn them
slappy.
out.
Yeah.
Bunt the damn thing.
Cardinals OPS is 667. That is 23rd
That ain't good.
in baseball. So you're talking. That's what? That's bottom 25% basically
Ain't good.
of baseball. Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because I want to hear from y'all and also the text line. Because I always like to wonder, am I being fair or not? I try to be fair, and this is a good problem to have. But you got Willie, you got Ivan Herrera. But is it also kind of like now as you want to play Herrera all the time, right? And you got DHs and whatnot. Does it also get back to my kind of earlier conversation about the Cardinals' decision making where, by the way, it's so early. I'm not trying to say like Ivan Herrera is going to be a 10-time All-Star. I have no clue. But is it fair? Like you got this catcher now who might be really good. He might be your catcher of the future. And then you have a 5-year deal for Willie, who's also really good, by the way. Right? But he's older. And now you're having to carve up the at-bats and the catching time. And you got a lot of resources into Willie where, hey, if Herrera could have been your guy, let's say for the next 3 years, and Kisner was your backup, you could have had that $18 million to put into pitching. Is that a fair conversation to have, you think, or am I being nitpicky?
I think that's fair. I've heard that before from people, too, actually.
Well, I'm just saying, like...
I've read that in the past couple days.
So here's a good example. You know, Kisner was the guy who was further along than Herrera, right? Herrera's a younger dude. So if Kisner would have become Herrera, if Kisner would have become who we thought he was, like a really good offensive player, they probably don't end up signing Wilson Contreras. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, probably would have signed a shortstop instead.
You know, or pitching, whatever. You put that money elsewhere. Kisner never became that. He was the backup. Well, okay, so you got to get a main catcher. They get Willie. But if you knew Ivan Herrera was going to be the main catcher for the next 5 years, which we all hope is the case, well, then you probably would have kept Kisner as the backup.
Oh, God.
Or you could have had a stopgap for a year, and you could have signed that veteran catcher who's 34 to kind of give you a year.
AJ Pierzynski.
Whoever, I'm saying to wait for Herrera to arrive.
Yeah.
That's
Is
completely
that
fair.
a fair conversation, or
How
am
is
I
that
being
not-
nitpicky?
how is that not fair?
Well, I think Herrera really developed the last year or so. I don't think Herrera was necessarily showing this before 2023, is what I'm saying. So the Cardinals have to make long-term decisions.
Yeah, man. I think
think
that's
it's fair.
fair as hell. I've heard people talk about I've read people were talking about that, too. People bring up every sort of scenario, Charlie. That is completely fair. Just put Willie in the outfield. He'll be all right.
I mean, he has played outfield a little bit.
I don't think he's ever played first base. I still think
ever?
I don't think so.
Don't you think he
No,
would
I
be able
think
to
he
play
played-
first base as a
Oh,
catcher?
100%.
Maybe
he played a little bit with the Cubs. I'm pretty
sure I'm on the record, and I'll stand by this. You know what, Cam? Because I'm a hot taker. That's
Damn
what
right you are, Cole.
I'm pretty sure I am on the record saying that Wilson Contreras is going to be the first baseman who gets the baton passed to him from Paul Goldschmidt.
I could see that, especially if Herrera is this.
And I was under the assumption that Herrera was going to be the next catcher.
Isn't it Herrera? Or is it Herrera?
I tell you what, I think we've had two different pronunciations of his first name and his last name.
God.
I called him Ivan at some point.
It's Ivan Herrera.
Herrera.
His name is Ivan Herrera.
Ivan.
Herrera.
That's such a Russian
Herrera.
first name.
Ivan
Dom Herrera.
Herrera.
Ivan. Morning, boys. The Cards were great at getting the most out of the cast of side players because they had Hall of Fame-worthy coaches. I think the complete reversal of that due to subpar coaches from then to now. Minors and majors. I know the coaches don't swing or pitch, but they set the tone and the personality of the team. Burley, hey, dude. How you doing, buddy?
I like that.
Does that count as development, though? Setting the personality of the team? Like you had coaches who didn't set a good personality in the minor leagues, and that's why they're not good major leaguer. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, know when to walk away and know when to run. And that's the same, Kenny Rogers, with poker as it is with baseball. You got to know which prospects to keep. You got to know which guys to sell high. You got to know when to run away from a prospect.
Yeah.
And what's the other part I missed?
I forgot.
You
know
never
when
count
to
your money.
walk away, know when to run. So maybe you walk away from Tyler O'Neill, but you run away from Dylan Carlson.
That's right.
By the way, real quick.
And here's a free agency line.
Yes.
You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
100%. Because there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. So Wilson Contreras has played 11 games at first. He has played in the outfield 39 games in his career, 35 of them in left. I think you bring up a good point. The whole Goldie re-signing conversation, well, think about it. What if in year 2 of the Contreras contract, which is this year, what if Herrera is already catching half the games? I think there's a very good chance Herrera could catch half the games this year.
Contreras
and
is
really,
on a 5-year deal, right?
I'm sorry, did I say Contreras?
No, you're right. I'm just trying to map out how long.
Yes.
Because like if they're both going to play, they both.
So what I'm saying is,
We got to be somewhere.
if Herrera catches half the games this year and Contreras catches half, and then Contreras, let's say he DHs 50 or so you're still getting him in the lineup a lot, like 130 times plus. You got Goldie there, but you're like, man, we really like Herrera. Maybe it's better for our whole team if the following year, which would be 2025, what if Herrera catches 110 and Willie catches 50, plays a lot of first, plays a lot of DH?
I don't mind that.
And if you're mapping up the defense, if we had to project, I doubt Brendan Donovan is going to be a full-time outfielder for the foreseeable future. He's there right now, and he can't play outfield, and I love guys who can play every single position. He's one of them, and I appreciate him for it. But if you forecast Jordan Walker to be a guy who's going to be a regular starter for the next 5 years, we'll throw in Victor Scott, sure. Let's just say for now that he's a regular starter for the next 5 or so years in the outfield, or an Edman or a free agent that you sign at some point for sure. So the outfield's going to be full. So where does that put Brendan Donovan? If he's on the team, maybe he gets traded. Maybe because, I mean, we've hypothesized this offseason that he was going to be a trade piece potentially to bring in some starting pitching for one of the Mariners pitchers. So maybe he's not even here. But just dealing with the guys who we have here right now, Brendan Donovan is not going to be a DH type, I don't think. So if you have him, maybe he's at second base instead of Gorman. As we just try to map out, there's a lot of spots. I'm sorry, there's not a lot of spots. We have a lot of guys here. I think it would actually mathematically make sense with first base being the open position. Would you want to have an Herrera and a Contreras hitting as the, and this also comes into, do you like having two catchers in the lineup at once for injury risk and stuff like that? If your catcher goes down, do you want to have to put your pitcher in the lineup, stuff like that? But I guess it would be Gorman or Contreras at first, Donovan's played first too.
Donovan's a Gold Glover, by the way. I'll tell you what.
I want him in the field.
Donovan's my favorite player on the team.
Really?
I mean, if there's anybody that's a Cardinal, it's freaking Brendan Donovan. I mean, people love that dude. And I think the organization loves him. And everything you read is that he is that young leader. Dude, he's just, and I say this with love, he's the dirt bag.
Yeah, the dirt bag.
He is the gamer. He plays all positions. He grinds out at bats. He's tough. That's the last person I want to see leave the St. Louis Cardinals is Brendan Donovan. He's my favorite player on the team.
Interesting.
I mean, dude, people love him.
I like him. Yeah. I'm a Tommy Edman guy. He's probably my favorite, but I like Brendan Donovan for the exact same reasons, except Tommy Edman switch hits and steals bases.
But Brendan Donovan's ceiling, I think, is much higher offensively.
Probably.
The bullpen ERA would be even better without Palante. Ozzie wasn't a good hitter either when he first started. Ozzie learned to hit the ball into the ground more to take advantage of his speed. That's what Victor Scott needs to do. Charlie's premium subscriber, Ken. Hey, Kenny.
Ken Phelan, what
Is
a
that
feeling
Kenny?
From Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
Kenny.
Yes, he is.
What do you think of that?
I think that's fair. We got to look up some numbers here on Ozzie early. Look, man, I like Victor Scott. Not trying to crap on the guy, but he's literally an automatic out.
He is.
He is. He's an automatic out at this point. So you just can't have 2 or 3 automatic outs in your lineup. And right now, unfortunately, Jordan Walker is essentially that as well.
I feel like having an average exit velo of 86.2 is not very good.
It's not very good, but he can just get up there and slap
Slap it around a little bit.
Slap it
Slappy.
around, run it out.
God dang.
Slippy,
right.
Samsonite.
Samsonite. Swanson?
So this is how he compares to the average. He hits fewer line. Shockingly, Victor Scott hits fewer line drives than MLB average. He hits more fly balls and less ground balls, even though his numbers, looking at them, I would have thought otherwise. But, yeah, not a lot of line drives from this cat.
Okay, but look at this. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard.
The Wizard.
With the Padres. His first year, batted .258. Okay? Took a couple walks. By the way, stole 40 bags. All right, Ozzie Smith. And he was OPS plus of 82 with unbelievable defense. He was second in the Rookie of the Year. That's
bad.
somebody who can give you a competitive at bat.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And right now, Victor Scott, the second, is not giving you anything.
Yeah.
And by the way, he wasn't supposed to be in the big leagues. But
he is, though.
No. I understand that. But I think it's important to note the reason he's here. The Cardinals, and we criticize them for a lot of things, the Cardinals would have loved to have Victor Scott play a full year in AAA or play 100 games and maybe he's doing really well, and then you call him up at the end of the year. But he's here because of injury.
Yeah, and so I think at this point in time, we can kind of admit, and again, premature, we're like 17 days into this thing, but all the hype from spring training may have gotten a little bit carried away because he is not just struggling out the gate, like he is close to being unplayable, but because of your situation, you have to play him anyway.
Do you know what his OPS plus is?
I'm
54.
I've never seen
negative
this.
18.
I never saw a negative.
Oh.
He's negative
OPS.
18.
I think negative 100 is the lowest it goes.
Is that just a person who actually dies at the plate?
Tries to
Basically.
I mean, I could do that.
Yeah. It sounds like, let's see here. Saw that Tyler O'Neill's on a DL. You were right on that. Why can't we play our millionaire catcher behind the plate? This is comical. Has anyone seen Yachty? Nope.
No.
It sounds like you're forming an opinion as you speak. Laugh out loud.
Who, me? I always do that.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Don't
Form an opinion as I talk.
Don't a lot of people do that? As they go, they find a new point that they didn't think of before?
I mean, look, these are all talkable decisions. I don't have strong opinions on everything the Cardinals do. A lot of these are toss-ups. They've lost a lot of the toss-ups recently. They've got a lot of the toss-ups wrong, is what I'm saying.
Morning, team.
Hey!
Glad we have a road trip, so we brought in the lefty for the simp. Also, what are the odds Smooth Brain texted Maddie that you were off yesterday?
0%.
Oh, God, that's right, Wombat. Son of a bitch.
I will be honest. I didn't.
Damn it. I didn't even think about it.
It did come to mind, but I don't want to bother Matt Holliday.
He was just waiting by the phone.
Actually, to be fair, I thought about it
He's just waiting by the phone.
I thought about it after the show had already aired.
Our texters got to remind us. Our texters do.
I don't know if Matt Holliday wants random texts from me, even if they are show related.
Nah, I disagree with you.
I think he wants to plan his morning.
Yeah.
That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, like
if
he
I'm
might
him,
have-
I'm like, do I get my coffee? Do I start running errands? Do I wait and sit to talk for 20 minutes?
We can ask him tomorrow or next week.
Yeah.
But I mean, just Jim made it sound like, hey man, like, you know, Matt doesn't want random texts from random numbers.
I know, but I should have reminded you. That's okay. Well, he'll probably chirp us. You know, it's all good.
Cole here.
Aren't some of these women who get drafted mid to late first round or second round who aren't as marketable better off just quitting basketball for a real job? They're going to make around $60K a year. Oh, yeah.
It's their dream, man.
Yeah, but your dream usually involves more money.
Okay, but isn't the WNBA season 3 months?
Yep.
It's like 30.
That's why these people go to Russia and get imprisoned.
That's right.
Dude, I mean, I'm
right.
serious.
I know.
You can make twice as much somewhere overseas. These basketball leagues in Europe, I don't even understand them. I really don't. I'm talking about for men as well. I know dudes who never played at Michigan State. They played 5 minutes, and they had like really good careers for 10 years playing in Denmark.
Making money?
I mean, pretty good.
And they probably set you up there, too, just like in hockey, like they do. Like, I know guys are still playing over in Germany, man, and they're like my age.
But isn't that weird? Like, if you're in England, would you really want to go watch dudes who weren't even good enough to play really Division I college basketball? You see some of the gyms, and it looks like a high school.
There's not much to do in England.
I guess
you know
that's
you
true.
got the rugby and you got the soccer. Hell, they supported hockey there. I mean, we had NHL guys and stuff like that, and there was fights, and it's very entertaining. It's not just you're not just watching for the skill; you're watching because guys are killing each other too, and they love that. But no, I would not. I mean, I would not.
I got a friend who played. He started at Incarnate Word,
Oh God.
then transferred to Evansville,
Yeah.
and he spent this year at George Washington. Backup player, role player, like 5-6 points a game, whatever it is. Basically at every single stop. At Evansville is when I talked to him because of Mo Valley. I saw him and I talked to him. And I played like 6th grade basketball with this guy, so we caught up. And I was just asking him like, hey, like, what's next? What's going on? Because 6 years of basketball, like this dude, his dad was a basketball player in college. I think at like Northern Kentucky University. So like basketball has been this dude's life. His brothers are athletes. His sister is a basketball player at Marquette. Basketball is everything. And Evansville was horrible last year when I talked to him. He was like 5-25 or something like that, and he was a bench player. And I said, so you know what's coming up next down the pike? And he's like, well, you know, I actually have one more year eligibility. I'll go transfer somewhere. Then I said, okay, well, what after that? And then he goes, you'll laugh, but I'll probably go play in Europe. I'm like, how? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But
Well, there's different tiers over there too.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like the top tier hockey team in England, there's another bottom tier to that too that don't get paid that much money at all. So, you know, there's still room for guys that aren't that good. They're just, again, the money difference is
I guarantee you
huge.
my brother could play in Europe.
It's also a fun experience.
It's
for
very
a couple
fun,
years.
dude.
If you're 22,
So fun.
and you're like, you know what, man, I'm going to have a desk job that I probably hate the rest of my life. Why don't I go play in Europe for 2 years? Some ladies over there.
Meet some people too.
Experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, do you know how many of my friends after college tried to play minor league baseball for probably anywhere from 1 to 5 years and made almost nothing? And some of them never got past A-ball. At least these women,
But
WNBA.
got a shot.
No. I'm giving them all the credit in the world. I would have done the same. I'd have played for free. What I'm saying is these WNBA girls can play for whatever, $60,000 for 2-3 years if they want to keep playing. If not, they can get a different job. They can also probably play in the off season elsewhere in Europe.
Or just get a job in the off season too.
Yeah, they can just paint.
And you're still meeting again, they're meeting people all the time. Like there's still wealthy people around that own businesses that still like to watch you play. Like there's a lot of connections you can make. Not to mention, again, I keep referring back to hockey because that's the only thing I know. But when they recruit you over there, they give you can go to school, your college for free. They pay for that, so you can get your education at a nice college in Europe, which is 10 times more difficult than over here. Just so all y'all know, like the academics over there are so difficult. These guys would come in, they'd be in school. They'd come in for a game, and they'd just be so effing worn out. And I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, oh, God. Like, it's very difficult. They help you but it's really hard.
They went to Oxford.
These big-ass schools over there, they let you go for free. It's really interesting.
I had a buddy who, he was a decent college pitcher, but wasn't drafted or anything. He went and played in Italy.
That'd be cool.
And the league probably was not as good as the MVC for baseball. I'm just guessing. But, dude, couple years, had a hell of a time in Italy.
Wow.
Now he's got a normal job. I got another buddy who, he was actually a pretty good prospect with the Twins. Got a pretty good signing bonus, like 6 figures. Got to Double-A. So he put 5 years in. Then he started going the opposite way. But he's still like 25-6, really smart guy in finance. He goes, you know what, dude, I'm going to play one more year in the Canadian League just for fun.
Yeah.
Because he knew he's well set up for life. But he was like, you know what, dude, I'm done. This isn't even MLB affiliated. This is a freaking independent league, whatever, in Canada.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I'm going to go up and play in Vancouver and mountains and stuff.
Not
And
getting drug tested, probably.
Probably not. He
You know what I
freaking
mean?
loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Everybody's
but then you
having
give it
fun.
up after that.
And then everybody's having fun, too. You take it serious, but it's not that serious, so the pressure's really not on you that much. Although, like, it's hard. People are paying you money. Like, I'm going to try my hardest. You know what I mean? Somebody's giving me money to play. Like, I'm going to try my hardest.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to take it seriously. So I can't turn that off, but that's just me.
Well, I think they're still trying, but I think at that point you realize the dream, 99% of the time, your dream is over in terms of wanting to play in the big leagues, but you want one more year of fun.
What do you think my biggest fear was over there?
Getting hurt?
Yeah, damn right. That is such a pain in the ass. That's the one thing in hockey, dude.
How are their medical teams?
But also your job. I mean, your specific job.
Oh, God. I was so worried about getting hurt. Although I block that out when I'm playing. But leading up to it, my wife is getting nervous about it because you can get really hurt. I mean, obviously, knocked out.
We just saw what happened with your team this year.
Yeah, dude. Like, there's still crazy things, nasty brawls. I'm hitting guys, man. I miss them. I run into the boards 100 miles an hour. I rip my shoulder out. Now I got to get shoulder surgery there.
They're not sending you to James Andrews.
I didn't miss one shift over there. Not one. I didn't miss one shift of hockey, except for when my skates broke.
Is that in part why you retired? Because you just felt so lucky where you're like, man, I
Get me out. I'm done.
You're like,
I had a good run.
I was kind of playing with fire. It worked out really
Big
well. I
time.
kind of don't want to gamble a second time.
Playing with fire every single shift.
When Randy Markell calls, you answer.
You answer. And he offers you that contract. Initial contract. I'm like, yeah.
He said
Yeah, I'll
Charlie
take
wants. He said Charlie wants to sell for the radio station.
I'm going to give you this, but I'm going to give Charlie this, and I'm going to talk about it.
Fox 2 loved that. Fox 2 loved reading, hey, Charlie's going to be a salesman. Oh, yeah.
God, that's funny. Man, oh, man, that was
Which was not
hilarious.
true, by the way.
That was hilarious. God, we were top shooters, too, when that came about. Poor Charlie got tortured for 2 hours. 2 hours by me.
Charlie will be a salesman.
Oh, God, that
What?
was funny. Everybody
I probably
was,
did, to be fair, I probably did say, because you know how you just say things?
Yes.
And by the way, like when I say things, hey, I'll sell. You know, it's like, but selling is like, yeah, like if I know a bit, I'll ask them.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm really going to sell
Cold
40
call.
hours a week.
Yeah,
Like,
you're canvassing the neighborhood.
well, it's like, I'll try to sell. Yeah, like,
Banging
you know, a
on
business
doors.
guy, hey, would you want to advertise? No, okay. Mm-hmm. That's selling.
That's selling. I'm not cold calling people. Let's see here, man.
Charlie here for 590 The Fan Sports Radio. Can I interest you in an advertisement package?
Listen,
That's what you do.
by the way, I'll
That's
always
exactly
help
what
out.
You do. You should probably do that too.
But truthfully,
Get a piece of it.
and then listen, salespeople make great money all across all industries. That is just something I don't like personally doing.
I agree.
I don't like asking people for money.
How much more money would we have if we didn't think that way?
So how about this? Instead of us selling people listening right now, just give us your business.
Yeah.
Just call us up.
Yeah. Help us out.
Do it
We'll
the
entertain
opposite.
you. That's
Yes.
our job.